Since the double passage is really two passages in one, we might find that the questions aren't really in chronological order. The first few will be. The ones that only deal with passage 1 or only deal with passage 2, those should generally follow the chronology rule that we would use to help us on other passages. However, these ones that are double passage questions that specifically talk about both, they may have a line reference that goes out of order. This one, I guess, is kind of near the end, but just keep that in mind that it's not weird for that to happen. This is a comparative question, so it's not really in the normal order of things. But we still kind of obey the rules of a line reference question, right? We want to go to these lines and make sure we understand as best we can what's going on. So let's look at 65 to 68, and we're trying to make sure we understand what those are so that we can then anticipate Beecher's reaction. So 65 to 68. So I'm going to read a little extra. So 65 to 68 is here, this. So let's kind of start before that. These rights may be wrested from the slave, but they cannot be alienated. His title to himself is as perfect now as is that of Lyman Beecher. It is stamped on his moral being and is, like it, imperishable. So rights, imperishable. Okay, fine. Now, if rights are founded in the nature of our moral being, then the mere circumstance of sex does not give to man higher rights and responsibilities than to woman. To suppose that it does would be to deny the self-evident truth that the physical constitution is the mere instrument of the moral nature. So there's a lot of stuff in there that I'm having trouble with, but the main thrust of what she's saying is really clear, right? Circumstance of sex does not give to man higher rights and responsibilities than to women. So let's just dumb summary this thing. Men equal women, right? That's what she's saying, that there's some sort of sense of equality, or that there should be, at least when it comes to rights. So dumb summary is really simple, really dumb, right? We don't want to understand nuance. We just want to get the general idea. And the reason we like it to be dumb is because, remember, the other part of this question is to anticipate what Beecher, the passage 1 person, would say to this. So the more specific we get with our summary, the harder time we're going to have understanding the response. Now, because of question 19, where we were asked for the relationship, and because of the blurb, where they tell us that they're responding to each other, we know that generally these two passages, so this is passage 2, so the passage 1 person would disagree, right? We know that they're not agreeing. So we're looking for a choice that kind of says that she would disagree. And so that means that men and women are probably not equal in some way. So I'll put that there as well, not equal. So let's take a look. A, sympathy, because she feels that human beings owe each other a debt to work together in the world. Well, no, sympathy sounds a lot like agreement, but we want disagreement. So sympathy, having sympathy for someone's argument would mean that you agree with their argument, and that's not our dumb summary. So that's not a good sign. Agreement, obviously, is not disagreement, so let's just look at the rest of it, because she feels that human responsibilities are a natural product of human rights. Well, that's actually a lot more of what passage 2 is saying, so that's confusing the question, I think. I think that's why that this might be a little bit of a trap, is it's trying to, I guess, distract you, and someone who picks B is maybe just summarizing passage 2 without even thinking about passage 1 at all, kind of forgetting the point of the question. So read the question. C, dismay, that sounds like disagreement, because she feels that women actually have a more difficult role to play in society than men do. Well, that's kind of like a version of inequality. However, it's saying inequality in favor of women. I don't know if I got that vibe from the first passage. Let's look at D. Well, disagreement. Disagreement is disagreement, so that sounds pretty good, because she feels that the natures of men and women are fundamentally different. So this is a really important point. In fact, let's use the highlighter. Let's really juxtapose these two ideas, right? Because these choices, I guess, the first part, we could justify with our dumb summary, right? Both of them seem like a disagreement, even if one uses that word and the other doesn't. There's still this idea that passage 1 is not going to be happy with this set of lines from passage 2. But if I were to choose between the two, there's an obvious answer. And it's because it matches with the lines, but it's also because it's a weaker statement, right? Choice C is saying that women have it worse than men, right? Being a woman is more difficult than being a man. Choice D is saying something weaker, that being a woman is different than being a man, right? Notice the difference between those two choices, right? Women have it worse, women have it different. And when we're faced with choices like that, if we were just guessing, weaker choices are generally better, right? To say that women have it worse is a stronger statement than to just say that it's different. And to be honest, D is the one that matches with the lines. C is not what she says at all. So it's not just that D is weaker, it's that C is not going to match. She says that men and women have different roles, right? Man may go into society and coerce and urge and shame and drive by physical force. Lots of stuff about the way that men act in the world. And then women have to do something different. And here she says it too. While woman holds a subordinate relation in society to the other sex, it is not because it was designed that her duties or her influence should be any the less important or all-pervading. We had another question in this passage about these same lines. So she's not saying that women have it worse. She is not saying that women have a harder role. She is just saying that they are equally important. So in her own way, she is saying there's some sort of equality, but she's not agreeing with what Grimke is saying, that men and women have the same, how does she phrase it, rights and responsibilities. So this is taking a lot of the stuff we've talked about for some of the other questions and bringing it together, but I don't think you need to have gotten all those other questions right to get this right. I mean, the rules that we're following here are just like any other question. We have dumb summaries to help us understand difficult language. We have strong words to help us eliminate answer choices. And ultimately, we know to pick weaker answers if we're faced with a choice, because weaker answers are more likely to be right because they're less likely to be wrong. So show your work too. Write all this stuff down and keep a record of how you're doing a question. That way you are more likely to focus on the right things and not make careless mistakes.